Hey, I'm Manu Sharma. Today, I want to talk about a really big shift that's happening right now in how we create things. And trust me, it goes way deeper than just the latest tech hype.
You've probably heard about it, this idea of vibe coding. Where you just describe what you want in plain English and a tool just generates the code for you. It's exploded onto the scene, right? It feels like this huge breakthrough, this amazing shortcut that's going to make everything easier. But underneath all that excitement, there's a much, much bigger question we need to ask.
So, what really changes when a tool like this just completely rewrites the cost of making something? The answer? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking.
Look, it's not about the flashy demos or all the clever prompts you see online. The real change, the seismic shift, is in our expectations. It's about how fast an idea in your head can become a real thing you can touch and use. The game doesn't change when the tools get smarter. It changes when that gap, that friction between your imagination and actually executing on it, just vanishes. And let me tell you, vibe coding is shrinking that gap faster than most of us even realize.
You know, this all became super clear to me when I took a step back and looked at my own work recently. I wanted to really understand, to feel for myself, what this whole idea to reality compression was all about. So I dug up all these old projects, the ones that had been sitting on a shelf for years, the ideas that felt way too complicated or just, too time-consuming to even start. And I just started throwing these new tools at them, and honestly, the results were pretty shocking, even to me. I'm talking over 70 prototypes. 70. They just came to life. And each one was built faster than any traditional team, any normal process would have ever allowed. But all that speed, it uncovered something really, really important. And this is the big lesson, the one I really had to chew on. The speed didn't get rid of the need to be rigorous. Not at all. In fact, the automation made having a clear plan up front more important. It was brutal. It punished any kind of fuzzy thinking and rewarded a really disciplined approach. Why? Because when you make a bad assumption, you see the mistake almost instantly. Okay, so if the actual doing of the thing is getting easier, well, that forces our hand. We have to start rethinking everything. Like, who's actually in charge creatively? Where does the real expertise lie now? And what does a team even look like anymore? Think about it. When the barrier to just making a working prototype completely collapses, that old rigid hierarchy, the creators, then the approvers, then the implementers, it all just melts away. Those long games of telephone between departments start to disappear. And that leaves us with a brand new, kind of scary question. Who's really responsible for the core logic of what we're building? And look, all the talk about jobs being replaced, I think it kind of misses the point. The real advantage, the new superpower, belongs to the people who can shape the systems, who can clearly articulate the why, and who can define the rules of the game. Bottom line, as the how gets easier and cheaper, the what and why, the strategic thinking, becomes insanely valuable. Which brings us to this really fascinating paradox. As it gets easier and easier to create things, the job of a strategist actually gets harder. It's a whole new challenge for leaders, this age of abundance. For so long, the big question has always been this one. Everything we talked about was dominated by speed, efficiency, how fast we could execute. But that's just not the most important question anymore. The whole conversation has to shift. Now we have to ask, how intelligently can we design what should be built? That's it. That's the new job for anyone in a leadership position. And to do that, you need a totally different way of thinking. It's about asking the right questions before you go chasing answers. It's about building a culture where trying things, failing, and iterating is just normal. You've got to pair that crazy speed with crystal clarity. You have to combine hardcore discipline with wild experimentation. And through it all, you have to be able to explain the purpose of what you're doing with absolute precision. Because here's the deeper truth, right? When you can build pretty much anything you can imagine, you're suddenly forced to decide what's actually worth building, what really matters. This ocean of options means you have to get way better at prioritizing. You have to be clearer about your intentions. And honestly, you have to be a lot braver in the choices you make. And that is the real opportunity hiding behind all the hype. This isn't some death of craftsmanship or expertise. No way. It's the beginning of a new, much more strategic way of building things. So vibe coding, at the end of the day, isn't a tool to get around being an expert. It's a catalyst. It's something that makes human judgment, pattern recognition, and strategic thinking even more valuable. It's a technology that's here to amplify the clarity of our own thoughts. So, as we head into this new era, it's pretty clear. The leaders who can bring together wild imagination and disciplined structure, they're not just going to keep up with this massive change. They're going to be the ones who actually shape it.